funny. Hey, Latrice, checking in with you. Are you going to Puerto Rico to the Pen and Profit Conference? It is April 20th through the 22nd.
Alexa, play Bring 'Em Out. That was the wrong one.
Bring 'Em Out and similar songs on Amazon Music.
Nope, it's not working. All right. All right. Staci, I'm turning it over to you. Clearly, I am not the DJ for tonight.
It's all right. Because we know you have a greater part and a greater purpose for sure. So thank you to everybody for coming out this evening. I tell you, this chick has been booming these books out. She's been making sure that everybody has all of the stories and all of the information. And I, the operator, have the pleasure of being here once again. When I tell you about reading all of these stories, it has been the women. Now we get the women and the men. We get to hear the marriage stories, the love stories, the business stories. We get to hear it all. And I'm just excited to be a part of it. Tamara, like we keep talking about this. You just don't give up. You don't stop. The energy continues to come. The books continue to flow. The stories continue to enamorate people and to bring them in to say, yes, I've experienced that before, and I'm glad that somebody else is talking about it. Or I've experienced that, and now I have a way to work through it because they've given me their solutions or how they've now testified to the situation. So I know there's hope on the other side. So why another book, and why the couples this time?
Yeah, so thank you, Staci. Thank you. I appreciate it. So why the couples? I thought it was time. Us ladies, us wives, we've been writing stories and pursuing our goals and dreams, and wanted to bring the male voice, our husbands, apart on this writing journey. And so when the opportunity presented itself, we just jumped at it. And to give a little backstory, a few years ago, like prior to the pandemic, my husband started doing couples chats where we were doing it live. And so we kept it going for a while and then fell off with it. And so when the opportunity came and presented itself to write with the husbands, then that was an opportunity to do so. And the ladies on this project were all a part of Blessed Not Broken Volume 1. And so they came back to write again, and they brought their husbands with them. And my husband was with me. So we just had a book collaboration, Love, Business, and Marriage.
And so, Tamara, I just want to ask you this question, because I usually ask the ladies, why do you think they keep coming back? Why do they keep coming back to do this over and over again with you?
You called them before repeat offenders. So I'll have to let them answer that question, why they keep coming back. And you know what? I want to hear from the guys too on why they decided to come with them. So we're gonna stick a pin in that right there, because I want to hear from the ladies and the wives and the husbands with that question.
All right. So this particular book, I had to, when I saw it, it took me back 2 marriages, all the relationships, all the stuff. And just to look at the table of contents, I just started having flashbacks. So for you all out there, this is Love, Business, and Marriage. All right. And so Tamara Mitchell Davis is the visionary, and we know that. And she's been bringing people together. This has been a phenomenal time. This is dedicated to marriage is work. It ain't easy out there. It definitely ain't easy. If it's easy, I'd probably still be married, but it ain't easy for sure. And so we've got the couples on here. And in some cases, the couples, each one has written their own chapter, to make sure that we could hear from their vantage point about the situations that they brought up. So we're going to jump right on in here. And so we go in with the Wooffords and find out about these stories. Okay, so we've got LaShonda up first. All right. So this is when the honeymoon is over, stick and stay. All right. So we know that it takes a long time to get to that place. And then you get there and you're like, okay, this is the honeymoon. This is all the good stuff, right? It's supposed to be like this forever. And somehow it doesn't end up being like that forever. So I want you to come on, and I'm scrolling through this book because I got the whole thing in front of me. We're going to jump to this chapter. Why talk about the honeymoon? And why do you think it was important to separate out that there's a difference between what happens at a honeymoon? Sometimes it stays at the honeymoon, and afterwards it's gone. So I understand why you wrote the chapter. So come on through, LaShonda, and let's talk about this. The honeymoon. When the honeymoon is over, stick and stay. Why did you write that chapter?
Yeah, so I wrote that chapter. I thought it was important to share because when you think about marriage, it's the butterflies, it feels good. You really like each other every day. You get a googly eyes every day, but that's only part of it, right? So, what happens when life hits you in your new marriage, right? So when there's no butterflies, when situations happen and it's just you two and you got to figure it out, even on the days that I don't even know if I like you today. And, he might not like me today, but you have to get through those rough times together. And that's what builds a marriage. And people give you advice, at your wedding, they stand up, they give you advice, but the advice really don't match up to what you may face. So it's like you're not prepared for the real things that happens in a marriage. So that I felt like it was important to share that piece of it so that those people that's coming behind us who's thinking about it, or even people in general who may be thinking about marriage again, so that you can kind of go into it with a different expectation other than it being the high skies, the blue skies, the honeymoon, the butterflies, and the googly eyes. So that's why I wanted to share that.
Absolutely. So your chapter starts out with marriage is not an institution for pooling money and skills together. It's a place where two people unite to achieve God's highest purpose. And then you go on to define love. Google defines love as an intense feeling of deep affection and or a greatest interest and pleasure in something. And then you define marriage. Google also tells us that marriage is the legally and formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship. So you started out with the definition so that we had the baseline, and then you go to talk about it being a roller coaster in the whole scenario. And you all have been together a while now. These, for those people out in the audience, these are not marriages that have been 2 and 3 years. These people have double digits up in here, so they know what they're talking about. So again, I'm gonna always say that if you have not grabbed it yet, make sure that you are grabbing the book, and that's on both sides of it. If you have not experienced marriage yet, to have some of these stories in front of you is really good, so that you have a guide for yourself to know, because we don't have that in life. There are some books, but there's not specific for you. So the more scenarios you know about, more options you have, and talking about these ups and downs. And so you were together, and you talk about the lifestyle that people have before they go into marriages as well. The clubbing life and the party life and all of that. So how did that change when you went into a marriage? Because see, that's part of that honeymoon feel, because everybody's going and doing things together, meeting friends together, doing the things that they like to do. And then when you get married, there's an expectation that there's a settling down. So tell me a little bit about that shift that happens, you know, when you get beyond that honeymoon stage.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said shift because that's exactly what has to happen. And I think a lot of times people are not prepared for that. Like in our case, I was so used to making decisions on my own. However, I felt like moving, I made without having to consult anybody. And my husband was the same way. Well, me, um, not really understanding the background of the entertainment industry, which my husband was in at the time. I went into it with false expectations. If he's a promoter, which that's what he was doing, clubs and parties and things like that, he cannot possibly be home with me at 12 midnight. People don't leave home to go to clubs to 12. So, but that's just an unrealistic expectation that I had. And I failed to communicate that when things was getting difficult, so it caused issues. Um, and then the same thing with him, like and he could, baby, you can speak to this, but I'll just say this. I I don't think he realized that I didn't fully understand the background and what all entails with him being in the entertainment industry. So that caused issues again, and I failed to communicate that I'm not really feeling you being out till you need to be here. You know, the sun should never beat you home. That's just how I was, and so yeah, that caused the whole situation.
Yeah, we see the head roll out. So see, we have couples this time. So I'm going to do this. Go ahead. I want you to come on. Go ahead and speak to that. You know, because we can see your emotions behind that. So come on and give us some input on that.
Yeah, how everybody doing? So to speak to that, when we met, and that's what I was doing. I mean, I always had a job, but that was my passion at the time, was promoting parties, promoting clubs, and I'm a people person, but at the same time I'm reserved. And it was three of us, but when we met, that's what I was doing, and it wasn't an issue. So I'm like, okay, cool. But when she moved in, we got together. She's calling me at 1 o'clock, talking about where you at. I'm like, I'm at the club. I'm working. Why I can't hear you? I'm at the club. I'm working. What time you gonna be? I have no idea. I can't give you a certain time. And she's getting upset, and she want me. I don't like to tell lies. She want me to make a commitment I can't make. So depends on how the night go. I might get in at 3:30 this night. I might get in at 4. It depends on what the club is, what the party is. I may get in at 4 o'clock that night. And stuff like that. And then it's like she has an attitude, and I'm like, why do you have attitude? What are you mad about? I came home. That was my thing. I came home. So that in my eyes, I'm like, I did my job. I made money. I got money, from it. It ain't like I was just partying every night. It was part of my job. And also, she didn't like the part that a lot of people don't know when it comes to promoting clubs. It's not the night of the party where the work is put in. It's the stuff leading up to the party. So I would have to be out all times of night from like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then do it again. And then the party will be Saturday. And so basically that whole week I'm getting in at 3, 4 in the morning. It depends on how my schedule was. And she just, like she said, it was a failure of communication, and she's giving me attitude. And at the time I was used to being single. I ain't never had to answer to nobody. Not like that to that nature. So I'm like, you want to have attitude, I can have attitude. So we both gonna be walking around here mad at each other. And then by the time we got over it, it would start over again. And then like she would come to the party, but that wasn't her really a scene. And actually that sometimes made it worse when she came, because women be talking to me, hugging me, and who is that? And this, I'm like, yo, you might just need to stay at home. Oh, you don't want me here? That's not what I said. I didn't mean it that way. And
Yeah.
I can't give her the time she expect at the party. You know, she's over the VIP and all this and all that, but it was definitely a trying time for us when we first got together. But like she said, it's like as soon as we got back from the honeymoon, it hit. As soon as we got back to life was normal, what we call normal, that's what it hit.
Yeah, and I can understand that because I actually used to promote too, and that was a whole ordeal. All right, so let's go. Another big component in this chapter that was mentioned was the money and working with the money. So, LaShonda, let's go back into your chapter, and you really break it down about what you all had to do. And of course, we don't want to give everybody everything, but we all know that money is 87% of the reason why there are separations and divorces in marriage. It's finances. And so you figured out, you know, a little earlier on that needed to be addressed. So tell us a little bit about that and how you all approach that.
Well, as far as the money side, I was more of the conservative one. We grew up different. I grew up not having as much, I could say, and she grew up having everything in her eyes. So I've always been more conservative when it came time to spending, and she was just like spend. And I'm like, you know, she'll go somewhere and she'd be come back with all the bags and stuff, and I'm like, how much did you spend? Oh, I ain't spend much. How much is not much? You know, oh, I ain't spending. I might have spent $500-600. What? 5 or 6? And this is back in, you know, 90 something, 2000 something. I'm like, what? I'm like, you didn't think we should talk about that? You don't think we should have a conversation? And she was like, I don't see the problem. And I'm like, you not seeing a problem is a problem within itself. So, you know, it was definitely trying because we had two different mindsets. I've always been, you know, the save person. I've always, you know, pay bills. Let's put this money back for a rainy day. You know, we can get some stuff, but you don't have to get it right now. How I sell meant I gotta buy it. And I'm like, yo, sale just means you buy it if you need it. If that's something you've been waiting for, you know, you catch it, you know, you got it on sale, but just because on sale you have to buy it. So that was definitely a big, huge deal when we first got, you know, start living together. And she can contest to some of the stuff that she went through on her side.
Yeah, so LaShonda, he's already chimed in. That $500 mark seemed to be the sweet spot where there needed to start being some discussion. So let's talk about, you know, what did you all decide to implement per se?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just go back a little bit because I want to just say my husband is completely right when he says that I did not. Money is like, again, because I had been by myself for so long, I never had to consult anybody. Whatever I saw I wanted, if I wanted today, I'm buying it today. I didn't think to, you know, well, you might want to talk to your husband first about this. That wasn't my mindset. And, you know, I would save, but I would spend more than I saved, which, right, he's right. That was a problem. But I never had to worry about, like, I'm not gonna say that because that's not right. I just never worried about budgeting and watching my spendings. I should have always been, but I wasn't. And so one of the things that we put into play is anything over, I think it was $500, we need to talk to each other before I just go swipe happy. Um, and so once we put that in place, it did help. And then once I saw like the frustration and not only the frustration but the emotional toll that it was taking on him, me and my swipe happiness had, I didn't want to continue to do that because I didn't want I didn't want to make my husband feel some type of way, and I didn't want it to seem like I didn't care how my swipe happiness affected him when it really was affecting the household as a whole. So I, once he brought it to my attention, I really, really focused really hard. That was like, that was hard. But I'd rather have my marriage and my husband and make sure that I'm contributing to making sure that our household has what it needs. Then, it didn't come, it, the challenge was more accepting. I'm not going to say it wasn't a challenge, because it was. It was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. But we got through that part of it.
And you're not the only one. This is common. Right. This is common, right? When you are, and especially when you are powerhouses in your own right, independently, and you're coming together now and having to do all of this negotiation. And I'd like to just mention, as I close out your side and take it to your husband, that, you gave some tips in the end. So everybody make sure to read all of her tips. But from a woman's perspective and the wife, she said, wives, it is just as much your responsibility to make your husbands feel loved, appreciated, valued, wanted, and special as it is theirs to do the same for us. And I think that you really got that as it went on, and having to really give up and to stop and think, because that's changing actions. And that took mindset change. Like, you had to become aware each time. You weren't even aware before. So you had to become aware and then actually change the action. So I'm going to give you your props for, even going through it, because a lot of women stop there and they continue to say, this is how I do it. So this is how I'm going to do it. Same thing. When you met me, I was doing it like this. And, so I give you props for that. And we're going to take it over to Travis, because, okay, so producer, promoter out here. And so we already know you all had to make sacrifices, and that's your chapter. Sacrifices you make for love, that's a big thing. And especially you were working a full-time job and promoting as well. So you were not around perceptionally a lot, and I know, because I had to hear it. I had to hear it myself. You said, and if you want to grow as a couple or individual, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm going to let you just go ahead and stab that one off the bat.
Well, what I had over the years, what I've learned is, growing is uncomfortable. Anybody who went through growing pains as a child, or if you lift weights or anything like that, is uncomfortable. But the end result is more fulfilling than being that little bit of time of being uncomfortable. So in life, to me, if you want to be successful, you got to be in some uncomfortable positions. I mean, it was times where I didn't sleep much. If I slept at all, I may get 30 minutes here, an hour here, taking cat naps, or, just whatever I had to do, because at the time, that was my goal. Before I was married, I wanted to have my own club, and I still had to make ends meet, because anybody who works in the club business know this night I might make a killing, but next weekend I might not make a dime, and I'm in the negative for that party. So it fluctuates. So I had to have a steady income to make sure, and I had to reinvest in myself and our business, because it was 3 of us doing it. And just, I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I had to get comfortable with being in situations at times that I didn't even like being in. I had to be comfortable with being around people that I really didn't care to be around, or that made me feel uncomfortable, just different types. And even in my marriage, I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable with the different things that she wanted to do. And I wasn't really comfortable with it, but I knew in the end, when we grew, it was gonna make us stronger together than, but just sitting in that space of being content and stagnant. It's comfortable just sitting in your own, shell, but if you want to stand up, you want to grow, you want to, get bigger, you got to do something to make yourself feel uncomfortable.
Yes, absolutely. Now, in your chapter, you tell a little story, and I'm gonna skip that story so they can come to the book and get the story. But I'm gonna take it to when you met her, you weren't even looking for love. You wasn't looking for none of this. I mean, you straight up, you were busy. And actually, that becomes baggage. When you're a promoter, that becomes baggage. So the fact that you even pursued the relationship was a big deal. So there had to be something strong there. So tell us about how you kind of chose to move forward with that.
I've always had a motto: if it's meant to be, it'll be. When stuff sometimes fall into place when you don't even want it to, I think that's when that's God telling you something. And when I met her, everything wasn't in place. It was nowhere near in place. Like you said, I didn't. If you said the L word, I didn't call it love. I just said the L word. If you said the L word to me or commitment, relationship, any of that stuff, man, I was running. I had a fast car too, and I was getting in that mug and I was out. I mean, you can really ask people that know me. I would be upfront. I'd be like, I'm not looking for it. You know, that's what you want to understand. I even told her, I'm not looking for that. That's not what I'm looking for. I had a goal, I had a stuff that I wanted to do, and I didn't want to be committed, but everything fell into place. It just kept falling into place. It kept, even when we didn't necessarily want it to, I think it just kept falling into place. And God was showing me that this was the woman for me.
Okay, and so I'm not gonna give away this little point because I believe definitely that this scenario, she was the one, and she had a moment where she saw something wasn't hers, and you were strong. You were like, throw it out,
Yeah, throw it out.
you know, like, and then and
she's
then
laughing.
Go ahead. Come on.
No, I'm laughing because she's laughing. She's up there dying laughing because she knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, but they don't know. They got to read the book to find out.
Exactly. Yeah, they got to read the book.
But this is also another big factor in your chapter. This was the first person that you lived with outside of relatives and all of that. So like, I mean, LaShonda, you had to have been feeling, I know you were having a hard time with the lifestyle in the past and all of that. But from looking from the outside, this man was saying and doing all of the things. I mean, like that was uncomfortable for him, that was not familiar. So LaShonda, I want you to real quick chime in on this, you know, living with him saying yes, or you all deciding that. Like, did you acknowledge at that time that was a huge step and milestone for him?
Absolutely. And that is why he's my husband. Because I knew, I'm like, oh no, like I cannot let this one get away from me. You better get it together. That's what I was telling myself. And then it was when, even though neither one of us was looking for love and expected this to happen, I feel like he's my gift, one of my gifts from God. And I will never disrespect or throw back a gift that God has given me. And so once I looked at everything from that view, I was like, oh no, I got to get this together, because this man is the gift that God put here on earth for me. I don't care how many was before me, but I'm the only Mrs. Wofford, and I'm the last Mrs. Wofford.
Amen, amen, and amen. And so if y'all are out there in the audience and you're continuing to hear how God is a part of these people's lives, that's all her books. So get used to it. Get used to it. God is the center of everything that Tamara does and that she brings to the table. So you're going to hear it over and over again. And if you're looking for that type of lifestyle and it's not what you have, I'm going to ask you, especially if you are a melanated female, to go back to book 1 and go through each one of these books. If you're looking for a way to be guided be guided in your life, but to hear that it's not easy, then this is the person that's going to guide you. I mean, and you don't even know it. So just go back to volume 1 and just keep coming with her, and then become part of it and have your life changed. Okay, so I'm going to finish this one out. So you all understood that God was definitely a part of this blessing. And there, you know, we talked about finances being an issue, but then you were blessed so that you could bless her to do what she wanted to do. So tell us about the blessing, the income blessing with the job that allowed you to be in position as the male and for her to be able to do what she wanted to do. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so as most of you notice, we're not together at the moment. She's at the house, and I'm in a hotel suite. I actually was blessed to get a job that I could support the family and pay all the bills with this job, but it requires sacrifice. And the sacrifice is I'm on the road, and I'm not a truck driver. That's what everybody think. But I'm on the road 10 out of 12. On the road 10 out of 12 months. And when I say on the road, it don't mean I'm driving. I'm staying in hotels. I've hit 46 out of the 50 states, including Hawaii. I was in Hawaii for like 2 months. So it's been a blessing to me too. I mean, it's not just her, but he blessed me at the time. And I'm not gonna get too deep into it because I may have a moment. But it was a time in my life when he knew I could do it. Because before this job, I probably would have took it because my mom was here and she was sickly. And let's just say he gave it to me at the right time. He gave it to me. It came about at the right time. She had already, went to glory. And he presented it. And, I knew she wanted to pursue things. And it wasn't an argument, but I could see the toll it was having on her to be having to, still be on other people's thumb and do this and do that. And, when it came about, we didn't know nothing about it. I mean, I talked to a guy that knew a guy that knew a guy that knew a guy. And I had to fly to California, and my family thought I was going crazy. They're like, so what about this? What about that? I don't know. I said, I just know how much money they said they were going to pay me. And it's an opportunity to do something different. And they was like, no, you shouldn't do that. And, and they just wanted, concern. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen if I go, but I know what's going to happen if I stay. So, you want something.
Say that one more again. Say that one more again for the people in the back.
I said I didn't know what was gonna happen if I go, but I knew exactly what was gonna happen if I stayed. I was gonna be in the same position. Actually, God told me to move because the job that I had, the place I was working, they did away with that whole department, the operations and at the car lot. So if I wouldn't have went, I would have been fired anyway, sooner or later. So, but it just blessed me with the opportunity, and I've been doing it now for 6 years. I'm in management, so, promotions and all that. And, but it blessed us more so as a family because now we can build a legacy for our last names. And that's what we're working for.
Amen. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices for the ones you love. Happy spouse, happy house. Thank you, Team Wofford. All right. I love that. Okay, so now I'm gonna head over here to the Alstons. Yeah. So y'all got to open up. Y'all got to open this up. And again, the scenarios and how they touched me, and we talked about money is always this issue. So y'all straight up opened it up, talking about that money. From bankrupt to building wealth. Catherine, be willing to be uncomfortable. Y'all done heard it. Y'all gonna continue to hear it out there. Be comfortable being uncomfortable it may get tough, but it's a small price to pay for living a dream. Come on, Catherine. Why are we gonna start talking about money from the get-go and then bankrupt? First of all, people don't want to even acknowledge that. That's taboo to talk about bankruptcy to start with, especially our community.
Right.
And then you're saying that this actually led to building wealth? Come on now. Come on, Catherine. Let's talk about this.
So yeah, no, that's the thing. People don't want to talk about hitting rock bottom. And in my case, I'm gonna be completely honest. As humble as I am, I struggled. I struggled because finance is what I do. It's the very industry that I've been in, and so it took a huge toll on me. For the very reason, guilt, embarrassment, all of those things. And it's really hard to admit that you've hit rock bottom, right? Like from a financial standpoint, bankrupt is it. And so it was important to tell the story. And the interesting thing is, even in writing the story, family didn't know, friends didn't know. And so there's parts of the story where, I talk about like how my friends stopped asking me to do things and how it hurt, right? Because they didn't know why I was saying no. They just thought, oh, she doesn't want to do anything. She doesn't want to go anywhere. But I couldn't. we was trying to build up. And there's this stigma with bankruptcy. Is this stigma with bankruptcy that you go into bankruptcy because you mismanage your money. That wasn't the case at all. Life was lifing. And so literally medical bills and daycare and just life. Life was lifing. And we learned a lot through the process, right? But the main thing was we got rid of the stigma and we were able to build. We were able to build. And it's a different build. It's not a build where people think like, oh, well, you didn't have to pay anything, right? Like we kept our house, we kept our cars, but it was a different mindset, because when you hit that bottom, either you're staying there or you're digging yourself out. And that's what we did. We literally dug ourselves out because we knew better than to stay there. And it changed the mindset. And wealth is mindset. Wealth is not what's in your bank account. Wealth is mindset. If your mindset adjusts and you actually alter how you think about money, your relationship with money, the way that you view everything, then you create a path of wealth. And that was the foundation.
Okay, so you struggled indefinitely, because this is y'all are gonna hear the same themes over and over again. Each one of these couples are gonna tell you, I mean, it's the same scenario. So take notes if you don't have a notepad out yet. Catch these phrases, tweet them out. Hashtag love business marriage, so we can go back and find it. And give you credit for acknowledging that you see this and you've heard this. And if it resonates with you, if any of these stories resonate with you, please, in the comments, let us know. This is why Tamara does this, because she's setting some people free right now in this moment. Somebody is in one of these situations. A couple is in this situation, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get to the other side of it. Mm-hmm. And if you know somebody, then tap them on the shoulder, slide them a text message, a DM or something, because this is why she does it. The distribution is to set others free, not just to tell the story right here. So let's go to, you had the bills and you mentioned the medical bills, and you had a scenario where you're in the hospital and you're like,
where's my husband?
Where he at? Yeah, let's talk about it.
Where is he at? Yeah, so I without giving too much details, I had a major incident that actually it changed my life, right? Because I had to relearn how to do certain things. Going through rehab, and in that moment when it happens, I'm like, where's my husband? And he wasn't there, not because he didn't want to, but because they saw this 6'9" Black man and was trying to figure out if he harmed me. And, you know, the reality of the situation is that I just was like, I'm not signing anything. Don't ask me nothing until my husband comes, because this is what it is. But even in that moment, it was crazy. It was just crazy because of what we experienced and everything that happened after that, right? It was like it was a ride. Let me be very clear. It was a ride, and it was just unfortunate in the moment. And then again, everything that happened, the rehab, the bills, the process, and then there were 3 other surgeries that came after that. So when I say medical bills, and we had good insurance, but no, like a hospital stay, rehab, those things expensive. You're talking dollars.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I wanna, you know, quickly shine a light or put some parentheses around what you said. The whole incident, that there was fear on their side that the injury was incurred from your spouse. And again, this is something that we need to acknowledge, you know, all the time, of how things appear and how the environment in the world is now. So those situations arising, one, they can be hurtful, because it's like, how you think that so Mr. Alston, jump in here and tell the audience, tell us, how did you feel during that time?
Well, one, we give God the glory, because you know the Queen is back. You know, she's not all the way, you know, back, but she back. She back. So you know, give God the glory for that. But 2, I would say, this is why it helps to have phenomenal lawyers on speed dial. So you know, keep your lawyers in your back pocket for the community out there, for our community out there, for the Kingdom family. Listen, put your lawyer, keep that lawyer on retainer. But 2, it felt a little insulting, you know, at first, to be quite honest, because it's like you call for assistance or you call for help, you know what I mean, because things happen, and then they look at you like, oh my God, what did you do? You in my house. Like, you know, like let's start there. You in my home. I may be in my sweats and hoodie and stuff, but you in my home. So you know, don't forget, I'm the one that calls y'all. So you know, to go from that to the extreme of the Queen being in the hospital and you know, going through that ordeal and being stopped, like, you know, you're a criminal, or you know, no, you can't do this, or you know, being treated as though you're uneducated, or you know, not aware of your rights, or not aware of different circumstances. So you know, just kind of take your time. If I could say anything to the love business marriage community, take your time, know your rights, stand firm in what you believe in, and have a phenomenal lawyer on retainer.
And I'm gonna ditto the lawyer on retainer all the time. I start telling people, from, you know, mothers with young Black boys, Like you need to, from there, have an attorney on retainer. And then as Black men, you always need to have one on retainer, no matter what. And we're going to leave it at that.
And that's part of the wealth mindset, because you're going to get someone who says, but why would I have on retainer? Why would I pay? And why would I do certain things? That's the shift in the mindset. And that's where, you know, some of those key things come into place, because you can't think about getting one when you need one. You need to have the wealth mindset to say, I have one if I need one. Very much a difference.
Come on. So now y'all built it up. You built this wealth. Now I'm going to ask this question. You hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then you built it up. But do you think you would have built it as big and with such intention and with such generational wealth and legacy backing it right now if that scenario did not happen?
I'm going to say no. He might have a different answer.
So,
but I'll say no. You go first.
Based upon how you phrase the question, right? I will say no as well. Do I think it would have been built? Absolutely. Because, you know, as King Travis always says, listen, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You know what I mean? What God set in stone can't nobody undo or remove. So if it's written for you, it's written for you. And I truly, firmly believe that. So I think it would have been built. Now, as big and to the, you know, extent that it's been, and with the aggression and vigor that it's been built with, I think that hitting rock bottom kind of reinforced that sense of urgency and reinforced it reactivated a lot of the passions that we had inside of us, because make no mistake, we did not grow up with silver spoons. So, you know, not growing up with silver spoons, you naturally have that rawness about you to want to do better, to want to, you know, kind of exceed your circumstances. So that's why I say yes, I think it would have been built. But I think definitely hitting that rock bottom re-energized us to get it done.
Yeah, I think that stuff's airtight now. It might have been built before, but it is airtight now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
I think there's one thing. So the reason why I said no was because what I do remember is we had no one to call. We had no one to call.
Yeah.
So when the daycare bill was due, when the car note was due, when we needed to go grocery shopping and we had an Echo in our refrigerator, we had no one to call. And for me, with children, there's nothing that you can do to make me want to go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said no. It had to happen, because to feel that, it created a fire where I was like, my kids will never, unless it's their own accord, you know, sometimes you do it to yourself, but they will never have to feel this, because there is something about not being able, knowing that you give too, right? Because part of it that we didn't talk too much about it, but part of it is we gave a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We gave a lot. And so to be on the other side and not be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need this. No one could take away that feeling, and it created a fire. It created a fire to say our children will not. And if they do, it's on their own accord. They can't blame anybody but themselves.
Woo. All right. And inside here, you gave 5 tips, like straight laid it out to everybody. We're not going to give it to them here because that's not what we do. But you clearly, you know, this is definitely your ministry, right? And so you had your moment so that you could have your testimony and come back. And now in soul belief, who's going to deny you when you tell them what they need to be doing? They should clearly be able to see it literally in black and white, no joke, but in black and white. And so with those steps, I'm going to take that right into your husband's chapter, because this is establishing a business mindset after bankruptcy. Because you could have had the same mindset and ended up in the same situation again. You could be repeat offenders to the wrong thing, instead of, to being authors inside of the books. So Reginald says, treat your marriage like your bank account. Always deposit into it, and else it will go negative. Now, we know you have to be giving, but some people still give on separate sides.
Mm-hmm.
See, they give and they give in their lane, and this one gives in their lane, and the two shall never meet. But there has to be some mixing of the pot. I love the reference to the queen, and now we get to talk to the king. So you have the mindset, as you said, you were gonna build it anyway. Like that was destined. Like, period. How emotionally did the financial rock bottom make you feel with declaring the bankruptcy?
So,
as the male, I'm
I was
gonna
going
say
to
that.
say, yeah.
Yes.
So as the king, right? It gave me. The queen will say I'm a pretty humble guy, right? But it humbled me even more. I'm a very faith-based person. The queen always says, I get my faith from my husband. I get my faith from the king. I took different approaches. At first I was like, why? You know what I mean? Like why us? Why now? We're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and yet it's still not enough. So, as a king, it made me kind of feel like I failed on some parts. It made me feel like I failed to provide for my family. I failed to kind of take accountability. But then on the flip side of that, it made me understand, okay, this isn't happening as a result of failure, right? I had to take a step back. I had to get back in the word. I had to, kind of ground myself and say, this isn't happening as a result of me being a failure. This is happening as a result of me being torn down to be built up for something greater. So I can take the mindset and I can live here and I can stay here and I can harp on it. Or I could look at what can I change effective today to kind of grow and get better and build so that this doesn't change, in the future. And that's where that whole business mindset came. Working for major corporations, major corporations pay me all this money to do this building and organizing and, setting business strategies, doing this, that, and the third. I need to set a strategy for my life. And I think that, once I was able to do that and sit down and implement a strategy or a game plan of, one, how we can get healthy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then set that game plan forward to, okay, now how can we implement this and just change our overall mindset and how we handle our business as a family and as a unit.
Yes. Okay, and so I'm going to do this one. We're going to give the audience a financial tip that is inside of the chapter, just to let y'all know, again, these people are not shooting from the hip, because one of the things that you were able to do was to figure out and understand that there's a separation between personal credit and business credit. And if one is down, it doesn't mean the other one is. So give them some game right now. You're going to give them some game right now real quick. and tell them, how did you leverage that? Because that's part of the big picture here.
So I'm trying to, I don't want to give it away 'cause it's in the book. But the best way to think about it, right, is that from a credit perspective, or just from a generic perspective, it's looked at as having two separate children. I'm gonna take it back to what people can understand. If you got kids, it's like having two. If you got kids, it's like having two separate kids. You'll have a daughter that's your angel, and you have a son. Like, where did you come from? And they both came from the same parents. So when you leverage, or when you look to establish a business, there's a few things that you need to do. Get your EIN number, get different things and stuff set up, and look to sometimes leverage either personally guaranteeing it, or personally backing that business. But understand that they do truly view them as two separate, completely different entities. So again, treat it like your children. You got two separate children for a reason.
That's a game. That's game right there. So if y'all didn't pick it all the way up, get on into the chapter and get the rest of it. But that's huge, because that is definitely part of, the shift that happens, and being able to leverage that. Our counterparts in culture are quick to claim and say, bankruptcy, I need clean slate. This is what this is. This isn't a negative thing. This is something that I leverage in order for me to get to where I want to go, and end up better on the other side for doing it. Now, I'm not advocating everybody don't go out and claim bankruptcy. We're going to put this disclaimer.
Absolutely are
No,
not saying
don't
that.
do that. Don't do that.
That's not what we're saying.
That's
But
not
just
what we're-
understand that positioning is not as negative in your mindset personally or reflection as we sometimes make it in our culture, because that's not how it's taken.
Right. I tell everybody, the business owns it, not us.
Yes. Now, to close out you all's chapter, like, you really had to work together to do this, and to make some harsh decisions along the way. So I just want you to talk a little bit about how you came together as the king and queen to look at this and say, we're about to do it big. We're not looking back, and we're going to set the example. So what mindset, which is your chapter, what mindset did you have to have as a couple to be able to move forward and do what you did?
So I'll go. It was us against the world. Real simple. It was us against the world, because when we filed the bankruptcy and we were at the bottom, like I was saying, we couldn't pick up the phone and call, we realized it was us against the world. And so we had to forge together, and we had to get real comfortable with each other. And so so we established, a lot of people know that we do money date night. This is where it came from, because we realized that leading up to the bankruptcy beforehand, like, he like, okay, she got it over there, she handling it and so forth. And I'm like, okay, he got that, the check coming in or whatnot, but we really did not communicate together in regards to the finances. And we really didn't talk about what each other wanted in regards to the finances. And so we had things in place, but we were missing the communication. And so when we literally sat down and was just like, this will not happen again. What are we going to do? What do we want this to look like? We made it a date. We couldn't go anywhere. So we was in the house with each other. And we would establish our cadence to have money date night, to talk, to say, okay, this is working well, and so forth. And without giving too much away, that was really the foundation. That was really the foundation, because we had to forge one kingdom. One kingdom. And there was no other way that we could see this working. And when we did that, you're better together. You are better together.
Yeah.
And it was just like the doors opened. And it was just like, okay, we on one accord. So there's no time, there's no miscommunication. Like, we are together. This is what we're doing, and we're doing it together. This your part in it, this my part in it. You don't want to disappoint the other person. So you come in with your A game all the time. So, you know, that's literally how we did it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I just said we realized you're only as strong as your weakest link, right? And we didn't want any weak links. We didn't want any chinks in the armor. So, like the Queen stated, where it was like, no, that's your piece, that's my piece. You know what? I need to understand your piece, because there was a point in time when, obviously, we won't get into it. Is in the book where you would ask for that piece, and it's, you know, I don't remember, and that, you know, would pose an issue. So I need to know what you know, and you need to know what I know. And again, that's ties into that whole money date night, not only for your personal kingdom, but for your business as well. You know, so again, read the chapter. A lot of nuggets.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of points that you dropped in there, and with clarifiers with it. He didn't just drop it, he dropped it, rolled it up, and then served it out to you. So make sure that you go in there and get those this kingdom. I'm so happy to get to see it grow, and you know what all comes out of it. Next, we just felt the love in all of what just happened. And so my biggest repeat offender is up. And this is business and love. And I know that in my marriages and my relationships, even with my children, this was the biggest struggle, was being able to marry the two of these together, because I quite often was either in the business lane or in the love lane. And when I crossed over, it felt like I was violating traffic. So business and love. Tangi says you can have both. So Tangi, biggest repeat offender in here. I love it. I love it. I love it. No matter where you're from, your dreams are valid. So getting it out the mud is an understatement. What? Come on, talk to us.
Oh, goodness. Wow. You can have them both. I always believed that. I thought I knew how to get both. I thought I was doing both. I thought I was doing both.
Oh, that's big. Come on. I hope y'all got that.
I thought I was doing both, but I had to learn some things. I had to go through some things to get to some things. And so navigating all ends. Oh, did I lose you? Navigating all ends led me to realize that I could have them both. There you go. Okay.
You had to be all in to realize that
I had
you couldn't put your big toe in and be like, I'm doing it. Like this. Nah. Okay.
I thought I was. I thought I was doing it. And I was doing it. I just wasn't doing it right. And so I was failing at it. So I was failing at it.
So you're the big dreamer, the visionary. Yeah. Like you've got the big picture. So what was missing from what you thought you were doing to then go, nah, there's another way I should be doing this or could be doing this, because this just isn't complete?
Wow. I think I was missing. There was a piece of me that just wasn't connecting. And no matter how many tools, how many trainings, how many things I've learned along the way of having several businesses, they just kept failing. And at some point, I had to look at the big why.
The common denominator happened to be you, huh?
I would have faced that. I would say yes. Yeah. It took a lot of losses to get to that gain. It took a lot of losses, financially, relationships, a lot of losses along the way for me to finally look at the man in the mirror.
And so in your chapter, you mentioned something that we're finding more common amongst people, if they'll talk about it, is actually self-sabotaging. Especially when you're able to get so far in something, like you said, businesses. You haven't had one business, but businesses. So you're good at something. You're good to a good point, and you said it was you that was missing. So you were self-sabotaging. What makes you say you were self-sabotaging?
Because I had it all. I had it all. It was like right there. I had it all, but I couldn't keep it. So it was in my hands several times and several times over. And for some reason, I just kept fumbling. Now I had the husband, I had the house, the kids, all those things. But for some reason, I just was failing. I was failing miserably when it comes to relationships. And so, yeah.
Something else I'm going to mention in here is, again, this is about bringing out the stories and the things that have now worked. So you use therapy. Now, again, our community talking about therapy, like that's for the other people. Why are you going? You're supposed to just tell your relatives and listen to Auntie whoever and Big Mama so-and-so, and you take that information and you run with it, even though it's from 40 years ago. It's supposed to apply now. So, one, thank you for acknowledging that in your chapter. And also, how did that work for you? For those people out there going, say, I would never go to therapy. I'm not doing therapy.
Well, they say when you know better, you do better, right? And so part of my learning process was going to school to become a therapist. So I'm learning as I'm going. I'm in school and I'm taking these courses and I'm doing these things. And, you got to write papers and essays about what you learn. And it was just me reflecting on myself time and time again. And it was happening at the right time. So being in school to get the degree in order to become a therapist really saved my relationship because it required me to do some work on myself. I was able to see the damage that I was causing myself in my relationship. So, yeah.
All right. So, Mr. McDougald, Kyle, while this is going on, right?
I'm getting free therapy. So I'm taking advantage of it.
She's starting all these businesses, like, and going to school, doing all of this. And so how are you feeling? Like, were you feeling like she was already 100%?
I knew she was working on it. She was getting there. We both needed it. So we both were unfit, but we
I never said I was unfit.
Well, you said well, you said it. Two wrongs, they say two wrongs don't make a right, but we can straighten it out to a positive.
But that's the truth though, right? This is the truth. This is the truth. And we know just from what Tangi's saying is that she needed to be 100. She needed to be her full self. He needed to be his full self in order to operate as an effective unity that would have longevity, because otherwise either people start going in opposite directions, and that's even something that happens during this development too. So how did you all, if you're both working on yourselves, how did you end up working towards each other as opposed to in the opposite directions?
You know, while we were in it, I don't think we realized that we were working on ourselves, in all honesty. I was going to school and I just wanted an A. I just wanted an A. And it came with, and so as you're reading about things and learning about life, I'm learning about myself. And I don't think that I verbalized everything that I was going through emotionally. I was just going with the flow and then trying to change myself, right, to be a better me. And when it got real, I realized that I was self-sabotaging relationships, that I was really working out a relationship trauma. And yeah, I had to do my work. And in the meantime, Mr. McDougald was going through his own stuff. And so we definitely clashed a lot. And a lot of the clashing caused the businesses to fail.
Okay, and with you all's, because it's so intertwined, I'm going to slide into his chapter, which is standing firm in my manhood and getting out of my own way. Those usually don't go together. Standing firm in your manhood and getting out of your own way. Proverbs 8:22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. So, Kyle, like, how are you standing firm in your manhood and getting out of the way at the same time?
Because I know if I find the right woman, I'm gonna be all right, and I'm gonna be in the right stance. Soon, eventually, if I find her, well, he put her there for me, and if I abide by what he says, and be a
Got him on nervous, you know.
Not Ned. No, I just follow suit, but I'm saying if you find a good, you better keep her.
Yes,
and we worked it out.
I love that and that acknowledgement. So, but that again there's something different about the men that are part of this book. This I'm not going to say isn't the norm. This is not what most people tend to come across or to see examples of. So for the young Black men out here that are trying to figure out, do I go do my own thing, making my own money, not, she gonna come to me when I, all of that, like, y'all catch the game here. Catch the game from these men. All right. So y'all had a number of disagreements and you came from different lifestyles, to start with your home breeding. So Kyle, how did that challenge you in your marriage? Because you did grow up different and with a lot of, you said you talked about disagreements, you talked about grandmother being part of it. So how did you, actually stand firm in your manhood in this one, with the differences in your backgrounds?
Because we had to turn to each other for answers. We didn't really have, someone else to turn to. You have a pastor and stuff that was there too, but in the long run, we stuck it out and ironed it out.
And y'all heard the Alstons talk about that too, not having the other people around, not having that support. So you got to figure out in that household, in that bedroom, how you're going to figure this out and move forward. And again, there's some people that they're not doing that. They're still trying to go outside and listen to everybody else talk and give them advice about things that go on in their household and wonder why it's not working. Tangi, what is that? What? Come on now. What's?
I'm laughing because he wrote about it. He wrote about it. Talk to him.
No, that's the thing. Like, you know, you go and you're looking for someone else for the wrong answers. You looking for the help in the wrong places. Really, you asking somebody that's not even in a relationship and not trying to be loyal to in a relationship. So how they gonna give you the right answer?
Y'all go ahead and get up in this chapter. He's got a few scenarios in here, and I'm gonna tell you, God's in this chapter too. So come on through. Just understand. Okay, so I'm gonna bring something else up too, because I think lifestyles are kind of different in different areas too. How hard is it? And I'll ask Tamara too. How hard is it? Do you think there's any difference of being an African American couple going through the love, business, marriage concept in Connecticut now versus some other places in the US? Do you think there's any difference, or it's just standard? And I bring it up because people ask me. I have family in Connecticut, and we always consider them like in a different world up there in the Northeast. So I'm just asking for the people, asking for a friend. So
yeah, so it's three couples on here from Connecticut, and typically we get that. Oh, I didn't know y'all folks lived in Connecticut. And so I don't think there's differences. I mean, you definitely understand the similarities when you talk and have platforms like this to share and talk about. That's why I felt love, business, and marriage was key, because all of us here love business and marriage. That is the commonality amongst us all. And all of the topics were relevant amongst us all. And so I think that was the common, I'll say that's the magnet or the glue for it all. But it doesn't matter whether we're in Connecticut, Florida, North Carolina, Alaska, Hawaii. I mean, we're all couples, we're individuals. And when you come together as one, you have some rub that you have to figure out to navigate the waters, the ebbs and flows of life. And so some of that comes with challenges. But how you move through it determines the outcome. And so it doesn't matter regardless of the state. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Get a little cold up here, so you gotta learn how to stick together.
Yes, that too.
Stick together like a good piece of leather to stay warm. You can go and be cold and lonely by yourself.
Good point. And so I want to say, y'all, check out his chapter. And it's a really warm chapter. It's a really, really warm chapter. Y'all are sitting here looking at this hardcore guy, baseball cap on and all and stuff. When you read this chapter, yeah, you're going to see straight into his heart. So I'm just going to say, jump in here and look at this love, business, and marriage all throughout these two chapters, and a lot of scenarios that are in here for you to be able to connect to and go, they're still here. They're still here. We've heard about the struggles, and they're still here. So thank you, Tangi, for being a repeat offender and bringing your husband along this time.
No, he brought me in.
He brought you in.
He brought me in.
Come on.
He was like, I'm ready to tell my story.
He stood firm in it.
Yeah.
He stood firm in it. Amen. I love it. Okay. All right. Keep going here. Y'all make sure y'all get the books. Y'all get the books, not the one. Get the books. Get the books. And make it to the retreat. If you're sitting here going, I got a story to tell too, make sure you show up to Pen to Profit. penandprofit.com. Head on over. They are going out of the country this time. So we'll get that note on the end, but I just wanted to slide that in there. The Simmons, pay to play. Come on, Doc, pay to play. Play keeps us vital and alive. And I think many times we forget about that over time. That definitely falls off, but we've already heard that it's good for the soul, it's good for the marriage. So let's hear, why did you decide to take that positioning, even though we know now how important it is? Thank you, Doc.
Yes, yes. So for me, when my husband and I got together, I was the A type, goal driven, got things to do, hustle and bustle, don't have time to play around person. Like, I'm not here for games. And it costs. It cost me. It cost me in my marriage. It cost me with building relationship with my children, and to some degree, it also cost me in my integrity as an authentic therapist. I always saw myself as being authentic, but I realized that I was saying things like, "I ain't therapeutic at home," and that just was so inconsistent. And when it registered, I realized I didn't want to live a dichotomous life. I wanted to be consistent in every area of my life, and I realized it required me learning how to play. Like, life wasn't just all work. I needed to learn how to enjoy life and live well.
Well, we must be related somewhere, because that was definitely an issue for me. Yeah, I didn't even go into it playing exactly. I was serious, and it did cost. It
Yes.
did cost. So, who was, who do you think, from being a therapist perspective, um, in the beginning, did it seem more like it was costing you or costing him?
Good question. I think if I'm real honest about that, on the front end, it cost him. On the front end, it cost him because I was imposing my rigidity on him. I mean, I guess I can't tell it all. I got to get the chapter, but I broke one of his games to demonstrate the fact that I didn't think it was appropriate for him to be playing games. And so on the front end, it cost him. On the back end, it cost me because as I was doing that, I was creating distance between the two of us.
And sir, weigh in on that.
Bless you. Yeah, definitely. I think that play is kind of who I came in as. Always a upbeat, positive, jovial guy, and she was fine. I was interested in her, but she was like serious, y'all. She was like, I got to get these papers done, and I ain't got time to play around with y'all. So, and I was like, well, come on, we got time to play. We got time to have a good time. And it took quite a bit of me just being consistent in who I was and not deviating from who I was to eventually get her to open up. But like Doctor said, in the process, though, there were still some things that I was being rejected. So it creates this space of feeling rejected. And so you can continue to tell yourself that you're not rejected and it doesn't bother you and it doesn't hurt you and it's not a big deal. But on the inside, it's doing something to you when someone continues to not meet you where you need them to meet you. And so it became an issue for me. And the way that I would deal with it is I would begin to isolate myself and I would begin to do things that I believe was helping me to cope instead of dealing with it face to face. And that created mistakes in our marriage and relationship, kind of took a toll, and it took a toll on our relationship. And you got to get the book. But in the book, we kind of touch on, some of the bad choices that I made because of the space that had been created with us.
Exactly. So understand, we're back at many times the women complain about what they're getting, not getting, and all of that. But we don't realize the front and the wall that we're putting up to the partner. And they have to, as men, need to figure out how to cope with it. And then their coping skills, we have complaints about those too. So, taking it all the way back to the first chapter about understanding what we need to do and how we have to contribute to the feelings and the love and the value and the acceptedness that the male partner has, because that's been displayed here. Now, you all have gone on to play and work together. So tell us a little bit about that.
I'll start. And Dr. Shanae will say, she'll kind of back me up on this. When I married Shanae, I didn't marry Shanae because I wanted to spend time away from her. And, I married her because I liked her. I was attracted to her. I love spending time with her. And so that has just been a natural progression for us over the years as our relationship has strengthened and as it's become healthier. It became more of a joy to spend time together. It became more of a joy to not just work together, but to play together. And so, my days are full of hanging out with this fine young lady. We wake up in the morning together. We go into work together. We vacation together. We dig in together. And I believe it's God ordained. It's the way it's supposed to be.
I love it. Doctor, tell us about how you feel about playing now.
So he still plays more than I choose to. That's still a thing, but I definitely see the value in it. As he said, we enjoy each other. We always wanted to spend time with each other. We didn't get married to spend time away, and so we count it as a gift that we get to do business together. We're literally in our office at the moment, having just had an event together. And it's awesome to see how our differences support the other's strengths. And so how there's this balance. And when we realized that there was a rhythm that we were benefiting from, then we learned how to put that in business. We learned how to put that in ministry. And so it's not as challenging as it used to be. It wasn't always easy.
Preach.
It wasn't always easy. But we now have the benefit of understanding our rhythms and allowing each other to show up in our individuality, not feeling like one has to make an adjustment because the other one's uncomfortable. And it's just, again, authentic. So it's a pure gift that we get to do every day together in this way.
Amen.
And I'm going to throw the pun on it. It's just like God planned. So let's go on in to that chapter. It's just like God planned. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Because see, he already knew it. It was y'all that were struggling through it, trying to figure it out. But it looks like it's just as God is planned. So, Minister, why did you write this chapter?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Because I think that many times in your relationships and especially when you get married, the very thing that God has connected you with, if you're not paying attention to it, it can destroy your marriage. And so when we got together, we had so many things that were in common. Our parents and their struggles with their addictions and their struggles with a lot of different things that were so common that we, in the beginning, that was our connector. And that was the thing that bonded us together. But we soon learned that that couldn't be the foundation for our relationship. And we had to grow up and we actually had to like each other and we had to do some work in our relationship. So if you don't choose to work on your relationship and work on your marriage, the very thing that's connected to you that God has ordained for you can destroy your marriage. And so that was one of the biggest things and the reasons why I took the approach in the chapter that I did.
So let's, from the therapeutic background on one side and the Christian background on the other side, I can see how sometimes we had the conflicts in the marriage. Give me one example of where that part of it was what kind of played into a disagreement or a butting of the heads.
I'm gonna let her take this one because she got good ones for this.
I mean, it's almost a monthly situation in which or he doesn't do it anymore. We had a great moment a couple months ago where he made an adjustment to this, but he would say, I don't need a therapist right now. And I would say, I don't need a pastor right now, and so, and that can happen in almost any topic. It could be something with the kids, something with the bills, something with the friend. But I think, again, we've learned to recognize that those things were brought to be in balance, not in opposition. And so that's our goal, to model to people that the two can coexist very well, not that one cancels out the other. And that's a natural part of who we are, our identities. So it's not possible to turn off pastor. It's not possible to turn off therapist. That is who we are. We see the world through that lens. And when we recognize, value, and respect that, then it can be utilized the way it should be.
Amen. Amen.
Fabulous. And I just want you to close it out by giving us the name of your business and what's the mission of it or the vision of this particular business now. Because I think everybody will be entertained by what the name is.
Yep. Play Fuel Marriages. That's the name of our business. And the mission is to teach married couples how to grow through play. I mean, we all remember back in the day when we were courting each other and the energy that was involved in that, and just the pure excitement when you saw your boo, you was dating and you was getting ready, and then you guys went out and you played. You went to the movies, you went to the park, whatever you did, and there was this excitement. And you learned about each other through that process. And so we just work very hard to rekindle that in marriages so that they can go back to feeling the way they did when they first came together, and they can remember the good things about their marriage and not just the hustle bustle of being busy every day and working hard and trying to make sure the bills are paid. I know. She's looking at me like that because she's saying I'm preaching, y'all. So, but the whole purpose of our business is to help marriages feel the love and the excitement and the energy that they did, and if they've lost it, to rekindle it and bring it back.
And we appreciate that. So y'all get the book. If you didn't catch the name, we're not going to say it again. Go ahead and get it. Get in the chapter, and then back it up with those experiences. Again, this is another couple that got to this point through their own trials and tribulations and have now used that in spreading their knowledge to others so that other couples can live through this and to be in that playful state and bring that back into the relationship over and over again. So thank you so much, you all.
My pleasure.
Second time around. Tamara Mitchell Davis, the visionary of all of the volumes and the visionary of this one, found it time now to bring the men into the mix. I believe this is very timely with what's going on in the world and what's happening with melanated women across the board. This is a time where people are making a lot of decisions about who they are, whether they're staying in relationships or marriages or not, whether they're moving on, what they want individually. And so a good marriage isn't something you find, it's something you make, and you have to keep on making it. this continuous thing. Now to some people, they're gonna that's already a deterrent. I gotta keep on doing something. So give us the little bit of the backstory and then bring us up.
All right. So first, Staci, I didn't know you can sing. You go ahead, girl. Jack, well, Jill of all trades. So second time around, this is our second time together. And the first time was a little rocky. We separated, and coming back again, for me, it was, I'm not playing any games. I'm not tolerating certain things. I had daughters, and we both had married, divorced, and then found each other again. And so it came with like expectations. It came with um just trying to remove some of the challenges we had before, the reason why we parted before. So leaving some of that baggage at the door, but now we had new baggage we were holding. We were adults, we had matured, we had, you know, gone through some situations with life and then came back again. And so for us, it was the second time around. And just trying to do life different together with each other, and even doing marriage different. And so that's the keep on making it part, because it wasn't a thing of just one thing happen and you walk away. Well, really understanding what does that mean, and what do you want, and what do you want to see with your marriage. And it hasn't been easy or a cakewalk. And, you know, we still bump heads. And this is our second time around. So that was the truth of the story and how we came back together, and now doing life together the second time.
Now, of course, I get to ask you the harder questions, you know. So you did it the first time, and like you said, you came back with high expectations and like really setting the boundaries this second time around. Do you think that you would have been at that same state if you didn't have the first round? Do you think you would have been more easygoing if you were just getting married for the first time, that you would not have found out as many things about you and about marriage in general to be able to set some boundaries?
I think for me, it was being in a place of learning. Like, there was a period where I had to learn who I was again. I had lost myself. I had, and when we came back together, that was a part of the story in the book, where we came back together, and where we came back together, it was just emotions that were on high, an all-time high, because we knew what we had left, and we knew why we parted, but I lost myself in the process. So the fact that I ended up where I was at in front of him, being vulnerable, looking for someone to remind me of who I was it was just a different thing for me. And at the time I said to him, like, I'm not looking for a relationship. I'll call you when I need you. That
We keep hearing that. Like,
well, that was, but the reason why is because I had, you know, I had lost myself. And so when we connected again, I asked him the question. I said, tell me about me. Tell me what you remember about me. And some of the things that he repeated was like, you're strong, you're independent. And I lost sight of that, you know, within a period of time. And so for him to speak that into me, to remember me by that, that's where the emotions came in. Like, the floodgates just opened up, and we just decided at that moment that we would be friends. And then the friends, we would be friends, and then it just, you know, turned into where we are now. Yeah. Team Davis.
Yeah. Go ahead, the other half of Team Davis, jump in there, because he all.
So, you know, she was trying to be hard, you know, like stand fast, but in all honesty, she was on it from the start, and she wanted it from the start. So, you know, and it was just we was crawling till we started walking, and we walking now.
Amen.
So,
amen.
You know, her being lost, she wasn't lost. It was just a thing that she was just going through things, but she wasn't lost, because if she was lost, she would have never found me. And I was
Aw.
way far. So she wasn't lost. So it was just a thing of, she just went down the wrong path.
But I think that's good to
now, though.
it's good to hear that he actually was able to remind you of the true self that you were, because a lot of times we go back and we meet people and people see us how we were, and that's not who we are now.
Mhm.
So he got to take you back to the good place, to the good things and those good memories of you. Let's talk about respect. Let's talk about respect, baby. So, Tamara, I always talk about you being strong. I always talk about you having boundaries, and you are the hold up, like, wait a minute. We need to clarify that before we move forward. How is that played in this reunion again?
Let's see. So when we came back together, I am speaking for me. I think that he remembered me being who I was then. And so coming back now, some years ago, I was who we were before. And so I came in, I felt with, not remembering some of the things that happened before, trying not to remember them rather, with a clean slate, and how do we start fresh and move forward. And so I think that sometimes there's a challenge or a tug of war between us because of that, because of the past, holding the past, trying not to hold the past on what occurred, but always remembering that this is new and we need to still move in the new and through the new. And I didn't feel like I held anything back or held anything over his head. But when things started coming up for me, they were triggers. I'm learning that from my therapy friends. Those were triggers for me, and it had me like get defensive. It had me like hold those boundaries, like this is not what I'm about to do. It had me really just I want to say like hold my position on certain things, because it's just some things I'm not tolerating. And I would say that to him, like, I'm older now, I'm wiser now, I'm more mature now, I have daughters now. Like, I'm reminding him of these things, because I'm not the same chick that you dated 20 plus something years ago. That's not what we about to do. So that's the whole boundaries. And I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, yes. And I'm gonna intertwine his chapter in that too. But at that point, he was a changed man.
Mhm.
Right. He was a changed man. So he says it's not me, y'all. He says he was a problem child, known as a problem child. And so the first time around, Joe, where do you think you were? Now, you had been labeled and all of this, and you went into the marriage. You went in with what kind of expectations the first time around of a marriage?
Well, the first time around, we wasn't married. The first time, we were just dating. And when she could have, the situation that I was in, she could have been doing anything other than dealing with me. And when I seen that she came back to me, right then and there, I shut it down.
Oh.
So that's when you said I was a changed man. I came back to Connecticut a changed man, changed look, different look, everything. I had dreads. I had, I wanted to get be a family, pray together, stay together, find a church home, which we did, and things just started falling into place. And everything that I said that I wanted to do with her, we did. And it wasn't just a thing of me just blowing smoke up her, you know. Okay, go ahead.
So at a certain point in your chapter, you talk about really wanting to make that contribution to society, really wanting to be a different person and being viewed as a different person. So, Tamara, when you got together the second time, you set a lot of boundaries up, and knowing you saw some changes. What kind of changes did you see that made you say, okay, maybe now's the time?
Yeah. So I saw his heart. I saw his heart. I know him. I can finish his sentences. I know everything about him. So I saw his heart this time, and I saw his trying to think of the word. I saw his zeal for wanting to change, for wanting to be different, and for wanting something different, to experience something different. I saw that in him. I saw the drive now with him, and just wanting to stay on the right path and wanting to just experience life different. And because of that, and I know him, like I call him Mr. Sunshine, because he always, when he's talking with people and dealing with people, he's always like trying to
Not be a pastor.
make the best of a situation. And we'll say, like, turn a positive from a negative. Like, he is always,
I'm always trying to bring a positive to a negative situation, and if I can't, I'm gone.
That's what a pastor does.
Amen.
Joseph Emmanuel Davis. You know what I mean?
I'm going to say, Joe, in your chapter, you state that even money can't heal a heart. There's still some folks out here that believe that money solves everything.
No.
Now, go ahead. Come on. Talk about it, Joe.
No, it don't. No, it don't. It just brings more problems. It brings more problems. I would rather be, now, don't get me wrong, I'm a fabulous dude. I dress, I make sure she dressed, But what I'm going to say is this: I would rather have nothing, and me and her, beautiful. You know what I mean? With no problems, no static, no nothing. You know what I mean? That's where I want to be. Because my whole life, it was always, you remember what I said, problem child. From a young kid, I was always into stuff. Always. To a grown man, I always had to have it. If I didn't have it, I'm going to get it. So now I'm mellow. I'm content. I have a good woman that takes care of me, that loves me, that wants to be with me. You know what I mean? So I had to change for the better. Because I think if I didn't have her, I wouldn't be here now, living.
Amen. There is no better close. There's no better close than that. You all have heard from all of these teams, and we're going to go around. And so you all, I want you to tell us why you said yes to working with Tamara and how it was working with Tamara. But I want to say that that's a phenomenal close. And we've gone through the years with the Davises on that one. So there's a whole lot in here. Again, if you all have never, most of you women have never read any chapter that a Black man has written. So if you are still on the side of not having that experience, please make this your first. And if you have before, I ask you to come back and to read these chapters. Not that I discredit the women, because I love my repeat offenders. I love the women that work with Tamara, that bring forth a lot of things that most melanated women don't talk about at all, but wish that somebody would say. That comes out in her books. But for the men, and when you talk about not having the examples for men, if you have a young Black man, please, 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 as a mother too. Okay, off my soapbox now. So let's take it from the top to the Alstons. So the question is, why did you decide to do it, and how was it working with Tamara?
Why did we decide to do it? What was the second part?
How was it working with her?
Oh. So I'm a repeat offender. So you go ahead, King.
You're a repeat offender.
I am.
So, one, to answer your first question of why did we do it? Why now? Why not? Why not? The story needs to be told. A lot of, especially now, folks get caught up in the social media. They get caught up in the hype. They get caught up in the pictures and the beautiful marriage and the vacations, but they only see the glory. They don't see the story. So why not write the story and let them know that it took work to get here. It took hitting your low to get here. It took faith to get here. It took strength. It took communication. It took dedication, commitment. It took looking at yourself and checking yourself. It took a different mindset to get here.
That's a word. That's a word, man.
Why not? Why not now? And to Joe and Tamara, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing my voice to be heard on a larger platform. So, thank you, because I know that this project doesn't stop at the project. We've created bonds, friendships, and communities that are going to last a lifetime. So thank you for that. And it's been phenomenal to work with both you and Joe. Thank you. Repeat offender.
Repeat offender. So you are not a repeat offender unless you were served well the first time. And Volume 1, Blessed Not Broken, Volume 1, set the scene and paved the path that I couldn't even have imagined. And so to be able to have an opportunity to tell another part of the story with my king, it was a no-brainer. But I think that Tangi said it best. It was the king who said, let's do it. It was the king who was like, absolutely. And it was because he was able to see everything that happened the first time. He was able to experience just the joy and the eye-opening, and then also the business side, right? And pushing forward. So working with Tamara has been phenomenal. If you are a queen or a king at this point who wants to tell your story, she is not called the visionary author just because. She has a vision that we can't see. She has a vision where we're scared and we're ready to hide behind a door and we don't want to come out. She encourages and she lets us know that, one, your story has to be heard. Someone needs to be released by your story. And two, that you can do anything that you set your mind to. And so thank you again for serving well. Repeat offender, and I'm sure it won't be the last time. I am sure it won't be the last time. So thank you.
Yay. I know. I keep coming back to, like, so I enjoy it, and I'm afraid, I'm like, one of these times she's gonna write a book and I'm gonna want to be part of the book, but then I won't be able to MC and ask all the questions. So, but I'm gonna figure it all out, Tamara. I'm gonna figure it out. McDougald's again, like Tangi, you repeat offender here, repeat offender on the outside of it. So why did you come back? You said he brought you this time. Like, come on. Why did y'all do it? Why did you do it?
I think for us, it was Black excellence. Black
Yes.
excellence. Tamira works with high integrity. She's definitely anything that she says, she's going to deliver and then some. So, very much so, like Team Alston, I got to experience it in Blessed Not Broken One. We all came in with our own goals on what we wanted to do with the book project and what becoming an author meant to us. And we got so much more. So much more personal growth, professional growth, and even in our relationships, even in our marriage, like it's a whole wraparound effect of growth. In addition to that, I think the friendships, the sisterships that we have made with each other. Let's see, Blessed Not Broken has 5 volumes, but we'll always be number 1. And we jumped aboard this project, not knowing that we were all signing up, right? But when we saw one face, I got to get in. I got to get in. I got to get in. Like, we could not let our co-author sisters go through this space alone and get some of Tamira. Because I'm going to get that work. And so I came in because I know that not only am I building my platform, but I'm building my sistership, right? That's my CEO sister. My husband, you want to speak or do you want me to speak?
All right, I'll speak. I'll wait my turn.
My husband, he real quiet. He real quiet. So, but from what he's explained to me was he's seen my growth. He's seen my growth in business and in our relationship. And he gets a kick out of watching Tamira go live. So he would be like, he used to have Tamira down packed. Our openings, he'd be 3:00 in the morning. I see Tamira, the CEO wife. And so for him, and every time she would talk about writing and sharing your story, he would be yelling. She couldn't see him, but he'd be yelling on the other end. I got a story to tell. I got something to say. And so he's my quiet storm, but he wanted to write his story too. He had something to say. And I think, why did you want to jump on the project? Talk a little bit about it.
It was fun looking. It looked like it takes you places. And like Tamara said, it can be a business. It's a business now.
Oh, he was jealous about the trips too. Yeah, he wanted to go on some
trips. They wearing hoodies, hats, mugs. They're doing everything. You can do anything you want to do with a good visionary. Take you there. Point you in the right direction.
It's the experience.
That's right. Absolutely. If the MLMs can do it, Tamara can do it. So distribution, y'all. All right. So another repeat offender. Come on, LaShonda and the sisterhood here. And so let's hear from you. And then we'll hear from your husband. So yes. So how was it? Why yes to this time? Because y'all are cheering together. And then how was it to work with her this time, especially with the inclusion of your husband?
Yeah, so for me, the reason why it was an absolute yes to jump on a project is because real people need real people that's willing to share their stories, that's willing to share the parts that people don't like to talk about. Because in everything that we go through in life, whether it be good or bad, it's going to help someone else. And so other people can't get what they need if we sit on stories, if we sit on those things that God has helped us get through. So we're all put here and put through different tests so that we can be the walking testimonies to bring his people out. And so I figured this was a great way for us to bring in not only love and marriage, but the business too. A lot of times we see successful businesses, but the marriage fell off. Or you see a successful business and your children being neglected. So, but for us, this was a perfect opportunity to show that we can have all three of them. I want my husband, I want my family, I want to stay in love, and we still gonna build this business. And while we're doing all of that, we're going to be real with the people and show them the real struggles that we went through. But hey, we made it and we're still making it, and you can too. Um, as far as working with Miss Tamara, yeah, it has been absolutely phenomenal. I can just hear her name and I'm gonna say, "What you need me to do?" I'm a, sign me up. That's where I am with that. And so it's just been phenomenal. And it was extra special once I realized that some of my sister co-authors from Blessed Not Broken came, but then I also get to share this author experience with my king, and then they get to bring their kings. It was extra special. I knew this was going to be just a global impact in a positive way, because again, real people need real people to be willing to share the parts of the stories that people don't want to talk about.
Somebody catch that and tweet that hashtag love business marriage. Come on, please. Yes, yes, yes. Come on, King. Other half to this.
The reason why I got on board, my wife, a long time ago, she prayed for people she prayed for us to find like-minded people that was into the same things we were into. And when she got on the first Blessed Not Broken, the camaraderie that they all had, I had never heard these ladies' name before, never seen none of them, but they used to be on there talking and laughing and crying and going all coops and hollering. I'm like, yo, what y'all doing in there? You know what I'm saying? And she like, oh, Miss Tangi and Mr. Mara and Toya and Miss Dr. Shanae. And I'm like, I don't know these people. But she know them and they just like gel so good. And when she came up, when she like, baby, you want to be a part of the project, I'm like, okay, because she's bringing me out of my shell. I'm not, lately I've been playing the back. But then when I met, Mr. Joe and Kyle and Reggie and I met Pastor Ty, I'm like, yo, these are some good men. So that was good for me. And we all gelled. And to me, like they said, I don't think it's gonna stop here. I enjoy being around them. I'm looking forward to hanging out with them next. I'm looking forward to hanging out with them more. You know what I'm saying? We had a good time in Atlanta, and I love the way the sisters love on my wife. I love that. I love the way Toya is always talking to my wife, encouraging us. I love the way they bring out the best in my wife. So I enjoyed that. As far as Miss Tamara, I mean, Miss Tangi kind of touched on it. She always under promise, but she over delivers. She would tell you the minimum, and when you get there, you like, oh no, she went well above what she said. I mean, well above what she said. And it's like now I expect a surprise out of her. I know she's gonna bring something that she didn't tell me about. So I'm looking forward to pinning the prophet myself. I'm looking forward to going. I'm excited. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, and Mr. Joe, that's my dude, man. That's my dude. I like Mr. Joe. I love them all, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I definitely look forward to more stuff, more business opportunities in the future with every one of the kings and queens on this. And I salute all of them.
Thank you so much. And I too, whenever I see Tamara's name pop up in my DMs, I'm like, what she got going on now? It's another book getting ready to drop. What else? It's always something good, productive, and that somebody else needs. All right. So let's winding down to this last couple before we get to the official king and queen. So Simmons, come on and tell us why Why did y'all say yes to this? And how was it working with her? Oh, y'all looked at each other.
So I will echo everything that has already been said without question. Um, Tamara has always been excellent. Um, and I participated in a number of other collaborative projects, and I know we streaming, bar none, bar none. I mean, nobody has delivered like Tamara has delivered. So it was no question about whether or not Tamara, Team Davis, because I know Joe was definitely behind this particular project. It was no question whether or not Team Davis was the appropriate people to handle the sensitivity of what we disclosed in this book. And so, um, for me, and I'll let Pastor Ty say his own part. For me, participating in the project is a bit selfish, because it unlocked some things for me. First project and this project, it unlocked some processes for me, because being trained as a therapist, I've always been very private. And so we're talking about very vulnerable things that my clients don't normally get access to, but now they can pick up a book and get into the darkness and the deep parts of my life, right? So someone very special had to be able to steward that process. And I could think of no other individual other than Tamara. With that being said, we chose to disclose some of the things that we disclose because in the work that we do, we were seeing an increase in the marital issues that we talked about, and we felt it was the time for us to put that detail into the community. And I'll let him clean it up.
Nothing to clean up, really. I think you did an awesome job of saying. I just echo everything that everybody else said, and so in my world, I'm a fruit inspector. So you know them by their fruit, and so just like the Wofford said, and everybody else said, all the men have said, you in the background, you listening to the Zoom calls, and you listening to everything that's going on in the background. And the first couple times, you're like, oh, okay, that's nice. Then when you see that, consistently, you're like, well, wait a minute. They just did this last month and the month before. And so then you begin to become curious. And so for me, when this opportunity came up, because we love marriages, I mean, it's our heart, it's our passion. It almost was like somebody put like this big fat Snicker bar and my favorite dinner in front of me and said like, yo, do this, And so for me, it was that. I think it goes without question. I'm just echoing what everybody else said about Team Davis, Tamara and Joe. I think everybody has already echoed that. I inspected the fruit. The fruit was great, and the people on this book are great, and we're blessed to be a part of it.
And I'm going to officially say thank you to all of the couples for sharing your moments with me. I enjoy being part of this and reading each and every story, having my own memories and flashbacks and activations and triggers, and then knowing, though, that the next part of it is going to be a solution, a scenario, some guidance to be able to get through that. And for the things that I have not experienced yet and may never experience, but I can also use the stories of you all to help those around me when I hear what they're going through. This is a Bible, another one that Tamara has brought together. I want to say, Tamara, thank you so much for making sure that the words get out there and that all those that should be part of your publications are part of your publications, and all those that need to be reached shall be reached. And then I'm going to say with this, though, today is like the final day of some pricing. Now, you all have heard her and a few other people talk about the trip, right? And I mentioned MLM because that's what happens. They put the trip in front of you and all the merch and stuff and the feel good. Tamara brings that all naturally. And this Pin to Profit conference that she does that surrounds itself around mind, body, and revenue, right? The things that we talk about that actually hold the relationships together and your business together with love. That trip is coming up, and that's in Puerto Rico this go around April 20th and 22nd. And today is the final day of the current pricing before it goes up. So we want to make sure you get all of the information. So I am going to humbly pass this off to the Queen and the King so that they can bring to you a little bit more about what this conference live is. Thank you so much, Tamara, for making me a part of this again. And I look forward to your next DM.
Thank you, Staci. Thank you so much. In couples, Team Davis, Team McDougald, Team Davis, Team McDougald, Team Wofford, Team Simmons, Team Alston. It has been a pleasure working with you all. As you know, those of you who are tuning in, maybe you don't, but we have our book release party celebration next Saturday here in Connecticut at Guilty Kitchen at 6 p.m. So join us in celebration.
Show it.
Join us in celebration next Saturday. So you have the opportunity to meet the co-authors, take pictures, get your book signed, etc. Next Saturday, Guilty Kitchen. Our Pen to Profit conference is next month, April 20th to the 22nd, 2023. As Staci said, we will be in Puerto Rico next month. And so this is a conference for aspiring published authors, coaches, speakers, looking to bring the book and business together to make it all make sense. That's how I'm gonna wrap it up. So you have the book. Now you're ready to build with the book. Build your authority, build your author platform, and really make the impact that you desire. You should be at Pen to Profit conference. And while we're on now, our speakers, not only are they a part of the book collaboration projects, but they will be speaking on the stage at Pen to Profit conference. Tangi McDougald, LaShonda Wofford, and Catherine Austin, Grant Austin, have to say the whole name, will be speaking at Pen to Profit conference along with some other amazing speakers that we have in place. Dr. Shanae wasn't able to be with us this time, but just know there is something in the works that we can bring the couples together so we can all do life as couples, love, business, and marriage. And so stay tuned for that. But right now, next month, April is our Pen to Profit conference, www.pen2profit.live. Go there, grab your ticket, make your reservation, and plan to meet us in Puerto Rico, mind, body, and revenue. And so what was already shared here several times, the mindset, the body, the energy, marketing, message, the money, all of that matters in love, business, and marriage. And so this is an opportunity to make it all make sense, bring it all together, and we will be in Puerto Rico. So everyone, this concludes Love, Business, and Marriage, the project itself, but we will be partying next Saturday in person, Guilty Kitchen. So join us. You'll hear us all talking about it as the days come, but just know it's next Saturday, the 25th, Guilty Kitchen. So everyone, have a good night. Stay safe. Stay blessed. It's been a pleasure. Thanks everyone for watching, tuning in with us. Some of you been on with us the whole time and some may have caught it now. Then go back and watch it from the beginning. Grab some popcorn, some tea, some coffee, something that you need. And watch the full thing because I guarantee you will be blessed. And also share this broadcast out. And follow our co-authors all on the project. They all have their platforms and other things that they are doing as well. So make sure that you follow them, connect with them, and let's continue to make impact. Take care.